Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about the Viome test. This is not like a sponsored, this is not a sponsored situation or anything like that. I was just recommended this test, and if you guys have been following my channel, you know that a lot of my issues are gut related issues. And so this was recommended to me actually by somebody, one of the health coaches from Evie. If you haven't watched my video, I should have a video on the Evie test versus Microgen DX. You might want to watch that one as well if you're interested in any of those tests. But I got a health coach with my Evie test, and she recommended that I do the Viome test as well, because a lot of gut health issues are, related to everything else. So I just kind of wanted to go through this. This is not going to be like, super comprehensive. I don't want to say it's like a super comprehensive review, because I just kind of want to give you guys the basic information, what I liked, what I didn't like. And I was also interested in doing it's called a GI map. I've been also recommended that one by multiple people, a couple doctors and somebody that works in research. And so I wanted to do that one. That one is like $600. It can be covered through insurance though. So I'm going to see if I can get a doctor to possibly, cooperate and so that I can do that test. But in the meantime, I saw this Viome test, and I'm going to tell you right now, I have done at-home gut tests. They are kind of useless, and I fully expected this Viome test to be the same. Usually when I do a gut test, I did one a few years back, and it was like, you're fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And I was like, okay, well, then I have nothing to worry about, right? And I've been having gut issues for, over a decade at this point. I think I've had gut issues since I was a kid, but obviously the more serious ones have been going on for about a decade. So, I was recommended this Viome test by the Evie health coach. I looked at the price because she recommended that I do the gut health test, and it was like 80 something bucks, I think. I think I wrote the price down here somewhere. I think it was like 86 or maybe 90 bucks, maybe 100 bucks at most. And so I was like, that's not bad. It's 100 bucks. That's typically the standard for these gut tests. Unfortunately, they were back ordered. So I was just like, this is, it was like, you're going to have to wait a few weeks before we ship it out to you. And then of course you're going to have to wait like another week to receive it. And I was just kind of like, I've been at my wit's end with a lot of my health issues. I had just finished a serious course of antibiotics, and I was like, I want to get this test done now so I could see what I'm working with at this point in time. So they have something called the full body intelligence test, and this one can run you up to $400. I don't think I paid $400. I think I paid $300 and something. You can probably get like a discount code or something. I must have gotten a discount code from somewhere. I might have gotten one from the Evie person. I don't know, but I don't think I paid $400 for this thing. I paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $300, probably $350, $360. The full body intelligence test tests your stool, saliva, and blood. So, obviously stool and saliva is pretty easy. It's gross, but it's pretty easy to do. And the blood is finger prick testing. And one of the things that was kind of annoying was, for whatever reason, I thought that I was going to have time to, like, enough time to do it. Like I could do saliva in the morning and then do the blood, later in the day, and, like had enough time to prep. So I woke up, started doing the saliva, and realized that everything had to be done before breakfast, with the exception of the stool sample, but the blood and the saliva had to be done before breakfast. So I was like there at like 8:30 in the morning, like, oh crap, like I already started this test, so now I have to finish it. So just be aware of that if you start it, you have to do basically the whole thing. It's best to just do the whole thing before you start eating for the day. So read the instructions carefully. I did not. I recommend reading the instructions very, very carefully. I was also concerned about the saliva thing because I've done saliva tests before. I can't remember what test it was that I did with saliva, and they basically told me they could not use my sample. I do not produce saliva very well, especially in the morning, and they don't let you count foam. I have very foamy saliva, and it was just like foam. All I could see was foam, and I was like, oh well, this is what I got. And they actually were able to get a good reading off of that sample. So kudos to this company, because other companies have not been able to help me in that department. And sometimes they will send you to like retest. They'll give you like another thing to retest with. But if you're just producing the same thing, they're just like, we can't get your sample. So I was very happy about that, because for over $300, they better be able to read my samples. So I did the full body intelligence test because that was what was available, what they had in stock, and I am very glad that I did. And I will tell you guys why. So I actually didn't really know what the saliva was for, because I've done saliva tests before, and so I was just like, oh, they're probably just gonna read something, I don't know, something interesting. They actually test the bacteria in your mouth through your saliva, so that was very fascinating. And you also have, obviously through your stool, they test all of your gut microbes, and then in your blood, they test your gene expressions, and I guess, inflammatory markers, and just, I guess, whatever they can test through blood. The blood test was a little bit, I felt like that one was probably the most useless one, because I get blood done regularly and my blood never shows anything. And I kind of feel like it really didn't show much. What was showing a lot was the gut stuff and the saliva. And so that was, that was very interesting to me, that, and that's kind of how things have been this whole time. Like, I know something's wrong with my gut. We've tested my blood. We've done all of these treatments, and I don't think the issue is in my blood. I think the issue is definitely GI related, and now possibly related to my mouth. So basically, I was not expecting much. I figured, maybe it'll give me some reading of the bacteria, and I guess we'll see what's in there. It came back with every last bacteria that exists in my gut and in my mouth in a full list. We're talking pages of bacteria. Every single little bacteria that is in there. I thought it was pretty interesting because I had been taking a probiotic, and obviously that bacteria came up in the sample because I was obviously taking that probiotic at the time. But the one that was very interesting was the mouth one, and all of the bacteria that's in your mouth, and how that affects your oral health, how that can affect your heart health, and also something called leaky gums, which I imagine is a lot like leaky gut. So very fascinating stuff. I did not expect it to be that comprehensive. So based on all of these results, they customize. They tell you what foods to eat, what foods to avoid, what foods to limit, and what are your superfoods, like the stuff that would benefit your health the most. So that's pretty cool because it gives you the lists, and you can actually even go to a search bar and search like, oh, corn. Is corn on my good list, my bad list, my avoid list? And you just search it, and it'll tell you what to do with corn if you have to do something. Obviously, not every single food on the planet is on that list because they're still kind of, I think they're still in the process of just compiling like everything. And it's impossible to just kind of have every single food that exists, and tell you, oh, this is good or this is bad based on your microbiome. So that's really interesting. And they also customize probiotics for you, probiotics and supplements. So that's really cool. Based on your results, they're like, okay, this is what you need. This is the kind of probiotic you need. These are the kinds of supplements, the types of nutrients that you need. And also the one that I thought was really cool, and this is the one that I'm really want to, that I'm probably going to purchase from them, is the lozenge. So they also want you to balance the bacteria in your mouth. So they customize a lozenge that you chew in order to get the good bacteria in your mouth, as well as probiotic or prebiotics for that bacteria, that good bacteria that they want in your mouth. So that one was really fascinating to me because if you've been with my channel for a while, you probably know that I've been getting recurrent sinus infections. Currently dealing with my fourth sinus infection within the 12-month span. And one thing that I saw, not just in my gut, but in my mouth bacteria, was a lot of streptococcus bacteria. Streptococcus bacteria is typically what causes sinus infections, or like, I think, upper respiratory infections. So I'm kind of starting to put the pieces together that this stuff is traveling probably from my mouth to my sinuses. I mean, obviously it's, they're kind of connected. So I'm starting to think that that's why I'm getting these recurrent infections. It's something to do with my mouth, obviously my gut as well, but definitely has a lot to do with my mouth, which is very, very close to there. So I felt like I'm finally getting an answer, at least one answer to one chronic issue. So the lozenge is something that I'm very interested in, as well as other probiotics that could help the gut, because obviously the gut and your saliva, all of that stuff is connected. So they make them for you. They customize a probiotic for you, and then you order them. You can subscribe so that they send it to you every month. But it's customized for you based on your results, the results of your testing, and what you've got going in your gut and all of that. So they also have webinars. I just finished a webinar right now, that helps you to look at your results through the app and through the online portal. There was also like another webinar that I saw on gut microbiome and heart health. And that was very interesting. If you have heart issues, or somebody that has heart issues, their gut microbiome and even their mouth can affect that. That was really interesting to me because as a kid, every time I went to the dentist, I always had to take antibiotics because I had a heart murmur as a child. And I didn't understand why. I was like, why do I have to take antibiotics before I go to the dentist? What does that have to do with my heart? Well, your bacteria in your mouth can travel to your heart and cause a problem, cause an infection in your heart. And I think that's why they would make me take antibiotics before every dentist appointment. Obviously, that has had some pretty bad effects down the road, because I do think that was kind of a huge, I don't know how to say it, like a precursor to a lot of the chronic issues that I now have with my gut, because I started taking antibiotics at a very, very young age, regularly, like every 6 months before I would go to the dentist. So it's very interesting to see how everything is connected. So they have those webinars. They also have a Facebook group with nutritionists where you can ask questions related to the diet that's recommended. And I guess just ask them like, oh, I have this issue, with food or whatever. And they can kind of answer those questions. I did sign up for the Facebook group. I have not done the nutritionist Q&A, which I believe is every Wednesday. But I definitely want to do that. So that's something that I'm kind of looking forward to. They have an app for the iPhone and Android where you could see all your results. They also have an online portal where you could see your results. And your results they come out, if you did all three like I did, there's all three, your gut, your blood, and then your mouth. But one thing that I found, and I'll talk about this, I'll get to this in a second. So these little, it lays out the graph, and it has like a red line, or like I think it's like green to red, and like if it's in the red, then it's bad. If it's getting close to the green, then it's good or exceptional. So you can see at a glance where you need to do work, and where you're doing fine, or where you're just average. So it kind of like graphs it out for you. This is another thing, it does have your gene expressions. I did not know that until I went onto the online portal So through the app, I could not find the gene expressions, but when I went into the online portal, I was able to download all of my results, and then right there it came up with a list of my gene expressions, which is really interesting. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, through the app, I could not find them. But they are there. So just know that your gene expressions are there. I think that comes with the blood test. Here's the thing. So the cons here are the design is kind of overwhelming, especially if you did all 3 tests. And for me, it was very difficult. Like, I really wanted to go and find the list of all of my microbes that are in my gut. And you just have to, like, through the app, it is kind of a hot mess. You scroll and then you click on something. And then when you go back, you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the list and scroll all the way to find your result. There are so many different, because it's so comprehensive and there's so many different categories and subcategories that it does get overwhelming and you just don't even know what to look at. So obviously, I was very interested in the microbes, and you have to kind of scroll around and figure out which one of those panels takes you to the actual list of the microbes. That was kind of a pain. I didn't know that I could go to the online portal and actually download the results, and that would just actually give me a printout of all the microbes, which I might print out. That way I don't have to keep going back to the app. The app needs a lot of work, at least for the Android. I don't know how it looks like if it's the same on the iPhone, but at least for the Android, I do think it needs work. I think they need to refine how they organize this thing, because it's just kind of annoying and overwhelming. The other thing about this, obviously that there's a lot of positives, right? It's very comprehensive. If you do all 3 tests, it gives you a full breakdown of every microbe in your gut, every microbe in your mouth. At least, I think it's a pretty full breakdown compared to other tests that I've done. It gives you the food recommendations, what to eat, what to avoid. You get webinars, Facebook groups, customized supplements. That you do have to pay separately for the supplements, by the way. That doesn't come included with what you paid for on the test. The website is probably better than the app, but at least you have access to both. I do think the gut test is reasonably priced. It's like, I think between like $80 to $90, maximum $100 if you just do the gut test. That's reasonably priced. The bad thing is that if you do all 3, because this gut test is back ordered, it's pretty expensive. It shows $400 on the site. I know I paid somewhere between like $350, $360, something like that. It's expensive. If you have serious health issues or really complicated health issues like myself, this can be helpful, but it doesn't catch everything. So one of the things that this did not catch, and it was something that I kind of was hoping that it would catch, or that it would at least help me with, is the oxalate issue. The fact that I just either don't digest oxalates or I don't tolerate oxalates well. I was hoping that this would shed some light on that situation, because so far no doctor has been able to answer that for me. I just, and I don't know. I just don't know what it is. So because it didn't catch that, it recommended a lot of foods that are high in oxalates. One of my superfoods is rhubarb, which is notoriously high in oxalate. It's like one of the highest oxalate foods you can eat. Almonds, I think, is another one of my superfoods. Kiwis, which is massive, very high in oxalates. So that was one thing that was really kind of off. If you have a super restricted diet like I do, you may not be able to remove any more foods. For example, it told me to remove red meat, to remove beef for 6 months. I eat beef and chicken. That's it. Those are my animal proteins. That's all I've got. So if I remove beef, I'm just going to be eating chicken for 6 months, and I don't know what that's going to do to my gut. It's told me to stay away from turkey. It'll recommend, bizarre things like emu, ostrich. Those are 2 of my like safe meats. Where am I going to find emu and ostrich, right? It's just, it's kind of, it's interesting, but where would I get that? again, the app is weird. It's kind of slow. It's kind of, it just needs to be optimized. I would recommend the online portal. It's easier to read, and a little bit clearer, but still kind of overwhelming, and there's just a lot there. The customized supplements, when I saw that they made customized supplements, I kind of assumed, for whatever reason, that I could customize the supplements. You can't customize the supplements. They customize them for you based on your results. So the probiotic that they customized for me had some pretty good stuff in it that I really do want to try, but it also has some plant-based stuff, like mint, ginger. There were a few things. My supplement, the other supplement, also had a lot of herbal stuff. Because of my oxalate issues, I cannot have any kind of herbal or plant-based stuff in my supplements because it's very concentrated when they put it in supplements, and the oxalate content just goes up. So I kind of have had to go online and sort of search for, sort of an equivalent. And, it's just, it would be nice if they would give you the option of removing certain things. Because what if you have an allergy? What if you have an allergy to mint? What if you have an allergy to ginger? There are people that do have allergies to these things. What if you have histamine intolerance, which, I also have histamine intolerance, and, a lot of these results didn't take that into account. So it would be nice if they could kind of give you the option to remove certain things, from some of the supplements based on, based on your own knowledge of yourself. And unfortunately, you can't do that. They customize it for you, and then that's what it is, and that's what they give you when you purchase it. So that was kind of like, when they say customized, I feel like they're kind of, yes, they're customized to a certain extent, but they're not customizable, if that makes sense. So that was kind of disappointing, because now I've kind of had to, at least it gives me a framework. It does give you a framework of what probiotics you might want to try, what, supplements you might want to experiment with. It's funny because I am taking some of these supplements already. For example, L-glutamine was recommended. It's in my supplement mix, and it's like I'm already taking it at a higher dose than it was recommended in that mix. So it's like, well, why is it recommending it to me? I'm already taking this thing. Like, I must be that bad that it's not reading that I'm actually taking these supplements for my gut. So it's a good test. I would say that this test is good for people that have some gut issues, some chronic issues, but you kind of want to improve your quality of life a little bit. I mean, I think it's a good test for everyone. Like, I'm definitely going to try some of the probiotics if I can find them elsewhere. And I am considering possibly stopping the red meat for a few months just to see if it does make any difference. I don't know if that would be a good idea for me. I don't know what kind of consequences that would have, but at least I know, at least the recommendations are there. And one of the things from today's webinar that the lady did say was, she said, yes, the supplements are part of it, but the diet recommendations have to go along with the supplements. You might make some progress with the supplements alone, but this is meant to be done all together. So you're supposed to avoid the foods it tells you to avoid. You're supposed to limit the foods it tells you to limit, and then you're supposed to incorporate the foods that are good for you, or they are your superfoods. Unfortunately, I can't do that. So it does kind of leave me in a place where I may not be able to optimize my health 100% or a lot. And it does need a lot of optimization, especially my mouth. So that was a little disappointing. I do think that it provided a lot of good information. I don't know if my doctors are going to care about this information. I still want to do the GI map. I believe GI map actually gives you more of a breakdown on your gut bacteria, like how much you have of each. So it's even more detailed and more comprehensive. But I don't think they give you all of these food recommendations and stuff like that. So I definitely still want to do the GI map, but again, dishing out another $600 for something else is just going to be a little bit difficult for me. So I'm going to talk to a GI doctor first and see what they tell me, and hopefully it can get covered by insurance. And then if I end up doing the GI map, I will come back and do a comparison of GI map and Viome for you guys. But this is what I've got with Viome. I still think it's a good test. If you have the cash, I would do it. It's really interesting. I found it very fascinating, and I'm hoping that I will start making progress in some areas, not all. So anyways, that's what I've got for you guys today. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.